From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
And good morning to you and welcome to Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Megan Shin. It's 5 o'clock here on your Tuesday morning.
It is a snowy day in central Indiana. I'm Rafael Sanchez, and these are your headlines on this February the 9th. More cases of the coronavirus UK variant have been found right here in our state. Working for you this morning, we're talking to local experts about how well the COVID-19 vaccines are working against these new strains.
And Indiana Bill is taking on possible pushes to change the names of Hoosier cities. We're taking a closer look at the legislation and the reasons some people are for and against it.
And during Black History Month, we're looking at the evolving industry of hair care for women and men of color, how the African American community is doing more to embrace natural hair.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Indiana. Here in central Indiana today, a number of school districts already reporting delays or closings. Have you been outside? I know you guys had to drive into work, but already a number of school districts, and Todd, you as well, a number of school districts already reporting delays. Greenwood, Clark Pleasant, as well as Center Grove, 2-hour delays this morning already right here in Johnson County.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of the heavier snowfall totals have been there south of Interstate 70, Raphael, so that's where I would expect a lot of these school delays and closures to be. Northern communities, you're really just kind of on the fringe of this storm system as it moved through, so your snowfall totals and your roads aren't nearly as bad. From at least this system, there is another band of snow working its way here into Peru, but beginning to wind things down here in the metro area. Still snow, though, along I-70 as you work your way from Greenfield to Richmond, and as we slide down to the south, snow ending in Nashville, Martinsville, Bloomington, about to come to an end there by Raphael in the Franklin area. Columbus, still some light snow showers, but the accumulating snow, at least the bulk of it, is done. So as you walk out the door, I don't think the roads are going to get any worse. They can only get better as the crews continue to salt and plow them, but definitely more of a slow go in southern locations here this morning compared to northern locations where not as much in the way of snow has fallen. It is cold. We're in the teens. We're in the 20s. Wind chill values are in the single digits across most of the northern half of the state, so you definitely need to bundle up. Here's the view. I love showing the different views across central Indiana when we're dealing with snow because it shows you just how intense it is. Bloomington, you can see way off in the distance. I showed you that at 4:30. Here we're looking to the north, and you can see the visibility is reduced just a little bit. That's indicating still just some light snow, but things are starting to improve in downtown Indianapolis. What's not going to improve, Lauren, the temperatures. Chilly day today with highs only in the mid-20s.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Let's take a look at your roads this morning. This is I-74 near Thompson Road. This is on the southeast side. You can see traffic in this area is pretty quiet this morning. You can see just a few cars moving across your screen going at a little bit of a slower pace. As we mentioned, we did have a lot of snowfall in the overnight hours while you're sleeping. Just saw another tweet a few minutes ago from Franklin Schools saying they're closed today and they're going to be doing some virtual learning, an e-learning day for those students down there in Johnson County. So check the app before you send the kids out to the bus stop this morning. These are rolling in at this hour. Also this morning, we know that dozens of INDOT crews are out there making sure the roads are safe for drivers this morning. Their fresh drivers here in Indianapolis began their new shift at 4 o'clock this morning. They're plowing, they're salting the roads. Most drivers are also working in the southern areas, which we know saw more snow overnight. INDOT says crews will be using more salt than usual because the temperatures are expected to be especially low. Raphael?
Thank you, Lauren. Developing overnight, Metro Police investigating a man's death. This on the city's southwest side. These are the details. On this Tuesday morning, officers were called to the home on Westbrook Avenue just before 1 this morning. When they arrived, they found a man in the rear of the home with what they believe are gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead. Additional details have not been released at this time. IMPD also investigating a deadly shooting on the east side of the city. This happened just after 9 last night near the intersection of Post Road and 30th Street. Police say they found a woman sitting in the passenger side of a vehicle suffering from gunshot wounds. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Police have not given any information on a suspect. Megan?
Raphael, now to the latest on COVID-19. Indiana seeing more encouraging numbers from the Indiana Department of Health. 1,065 new cases were reported on Monday. That's one of the lowest daily reports since October. More than 640,000 cases have been reported since the pandemic began. 58 more Hoosiers have also died with the virus. Some of those deaths date back to December. Indiana's death toll now stands at 11,459. And here's a look at the latest numbers in schools. 1,096 new students have been added to the count. Some of those date back to September. More than 38,000 total cases have been reported in students, teachers, and staff since the pandemic began, Lauren.
Well, Megan, it is 5:05, and there are 9 diagnosed cases of that UK variant of COVID-19 here in the state of Indiana. That's according to the State Department of Health. But there are several new strains around the world at this time. The 3 most talked about are the ones in the UK, Brazilian, and South African variants. In South Africa, CNN is reporting the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine rollout is now on hold after studies found it provides minimal protection against the more contagious variant found in the country. It's unclear how new variants will impact the effectiveness of the vaccines. But Dr. Amy Beth Kressel with Eskenazi Health here is optimistic.
Right now, we are modestly hopeful. It does look like the vaccines will not be as effective against the new strains, but it looks like they will offer meaningful protection against hospitalization and death.
Well, experts say it's important to continue practicing good health measures and get vaccinated when you're able to. A reminder, if you're 65 or older right now, you can sign up to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. To register, go to ourshot.in.gov. You can also dial 211. Raphael?
Child advocates, Lauren, are raising awareness about legislation they say will address systemic racism in our state's juvenile justice system. The Indianapolis Urban League, Voices, the Children's Policy and Law Initiative of Indiana are expressing their support for Senate Bill 368. If passed, this legislation would prohibit the detention of minors in adult facilities and create Indiana's first competency to stand trial requirements for juveniles. It would also implement a system for automatic expungement of juvenile records. Indiana data shows that 70% of children directly filed or waived to adult court were African American, despite black youth being 35% of those in juvenile court.
Young people who sit in adult facilities are overwhelmingly young people of color. And we want to make sure that they have all of the access to the age-appropriate services that are necessary and that will help redirect and get them back on the right track.
And we have more details this morning. Senate Bill 368 will be heard today in the Committee on Corrections and Criminal Law. Indiana is one of only 5 states in the country that do not have a statewide competency to stand trial requirement for its juveniles.
Time now
Megan?
is 5:08, and right now there are no efforts to change the names of cities in Indiana, but a bill is making its way through the State House that would make that process harder. This comes as more sports teams move away from using Native American names and mascots. WRTV's Kelsey Anderson joins us live this morning with the author of the bill and a local group that says there's no need for it. Kelsey.
Hey, good morning, Megan. So Senate Bill 130, it would make it harder to change the name of Indianapolis. And like you said, it was initially brought up because of that move to change the names of some sports teams across the country. So Senator Jack Sandlin tells WRTV that he looked into this because his constituents were asking him about it. Senator Sandlin says Senate Bill 130 is to protect the many people and businesses that would be impacted if a name change was to ever happen.
The investments the city's made to attract conventions and businesses and just even within the state. I mean, Indianapolis is a destination for a lot of other communities in Indiana. So I think that providing what I think is a good protection to preserve the name of Indianapolis.
So under Senate Bill 130, a group would need enough signatures on a petition for a name change, and then residents would be able to vote on a referendum. The bill passed in the Senate 36-11 and is now heading to the House for consideration. Now, as for sports team here in Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Indians, they did take this summer, they did form a committee to look into possibly changing the team's name. They have been the Indianapolis Indians since 1902. Now, in the next half hour, you're going to hear from the executive director of the American Indian Center here in Indiana. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
The time now is 5:10. As we celebrate Black History Month, we're looking at the evolution of hair practices, Lauren, in the African-American community.
And Raphael, our own Troy Washington joining us this morning, sharing how things are changing as industries start to learn the cultural connection between protective styles and healthy hair.
Little girls are no longer growing up afraid to wear their natural hair. That's because times are changing and leaving room for authenticity.
At one point, every little black girl I knew got a relaxer. It was a rite of passage.
Instead of us curling to put body, we're relaxing the hair to make it straight.
Straight hair was once a requirement in many industries, including the military. Women used to be required to wear a neat pullback bun. But as this stylist with more than 3 decades of experience explains, that's a horrible practice for black hair health.
And I have seen in my career, hair come straight out of that scalp.
The military recently made changes since it was found that pulling hair back too much can cause traction alopecia.
Alopecia is spots where there's no hair. So you have spots, like if I had a spot in my head where there's no hair there and the hair is not going to grow back. The pulling of the hair back, that tension there, that's not good. I think it's a lot of us, we need to be more educated.
Later on in the show, we'll discuss the changes that are continuing to happen to make a black woman's hair her crown and glory again. Working for you, I'm Troy Washington, WRTV.
All right, as you walk out the door here this morning, it's 5:12. The snow finally starting to wrap up. That's the good news all across the area, but the damage is done. Lots of school delays, lots of school closures, especially south of Interstate 70. So make sure you check those out at the bottom of your screen or the WRTV app or website. Here's where we stand on radar right now. We have 2 batches of snow left. This batch, which I'll show you in just a second, starting to exit, or we'll zoom in there right now. Rushville to Connorsville over towards Richmond. This could put down another coating to maybe a ½ an inch of snow, especially in the Richmond area, but things are really starting to wind down now in Greenfield as well as Shelbyville. Snow's moving out of Johnson County, Greenwood, Franklin. Snow just about done in the metro area as well. And then we have this one little band of snow that's in northern locations here. This will come through, and for those of you in northern locations, you really haven't gotten into a whole lot in the way of snowfall here as we've seen this make its way through the area. But more snow is on the way, not for today, but tomorrow. Another round heads our way. We'll break it all down for you coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. Taking you down to Johnson County this morning, where we have more slick conditions due to the amount of snow that fell in the overnight hours. That's changing the plan for several schools in that county. So if you're at Franklin Community, schools like Edinburgh, Nineveh, Hensley, Jackson United, Trafalgar, you guys are closed doing e-learning days today. Schools that are on delay down in Johnson County include Greenwood Community Schools, Center Grove, and Clark Pleasant. So be sure to check the WRTV app before you send the kids out to the bus stop, Raphael.
Yeah, I just told my wife to go back to school. She just got her alert that she's on a 2-hour delay, so she'll get to sleep until maybe 8 o'clock this morning. Maybe. She's a hard worker, we'll see. Back in the news this morning, Donald Trump's historic second impeachment trial will begin today in the United States Senate. Megan.
He's charged for an incitement of insurrection resulting from the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Trump is the first president to face charges after leaving office and the first to be impeached twice for high crimes. Trump has said he will not testify and no witnesses are expected to be called during the trial. Instead, senators will present graphic videos recorded during the attack, and senators are expected to debate the case today. Opening arguments are slated for tomorrow.
And Megan, during the impeachment trial, law enforcement officials they're beefing up security around the Capitol just in case there's any outbreak of violence. National Guard members, they're still patrolling the area, walking along that 8-foot fence topped with razor wire. As of right now, federal law enforcement officials say they're not tracking any specific or credible threats, but they do remain on high alert.
Well, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is in quarantine after a member of his security detail tested positive for COVID-19. The former South Bend mayor tested negative and has not shown any symptoms. However, the Department of Chief of Staff said that Buttigieg was in close contact with the agent yesterday morning as well. The agent was not showing symptoms when he tested positive.
I think it's a reminder, as we go through our days, that this is why masks matter. This is why testing matters. You can get up, go to work, feel fine, and it turns out that you're positive. So, we're going through all the steps and following protocols.
Buttigieg has already received his first dose of the COVID vaccine. He'll get his second dose after his 2-week quarantine is over.
On the same day it hosted the Super Bowl, Florida became the first state to report 200 cases of coronavirus variants. The U.S. has around 700 known variant cases, meaning Florida makes up about 30% of those. It has health officials concerned about further variant spread as many people celebrated Tampa's win maskless in the streets. In the rest of the country, there's still concern for a surge as health officials suspect many Americans hosted unsafe gatherings for the big game. Time now is 5:18, and Todd, it is cold out there.
Yeah, we're dealing with these chilly temperatures, and it's going to even get colder as we work our way into the weekend. This is one of the longest stretches I can remember of below normal temperatures here in central Indiana. We've been colder with actual temperatures, but just the duration of being below freezing here will continue into probably at least 7 to 10 days of below freezing temperatures for most of us, not everybody. Some southern locations will get close to freezing the next couple days. But as far as what's happening right now, starting to wrap up, we continue to have that winter weather advisory in southern locations. And once we get past the next couple hours, we're basically going to be done with the snow for the day today. So that is good news. We have this one little band of some decent snow here from Peru back towards Logansport that basically parallels US 24 up in that area. This is much lighter snow, Delphi to Lafayette to Kokomo, and then as we slide off towards the east, snow wrapping up now in Newcastle, Greenfield, Indianapolis, down to just a few flurries, and the same thing here in southern locations as well. But if your travels take you into Ohio, things really starting to ramp up there. About 4 to 8 inches of snow expected in the Cincinnati area. But don't be shocked if you see a snow shower here or there throughout the day today, but we're not going to see any additional accumulation really from this point forward in most areas. Here's that winter weather advisory that'll get dropped off here this morning by the National Weather Service. You can see the city skyline from IMS looking back to the east, so that's always good news as far as when you're dealing with snow. It shows that the snow is fairly light across the area. Teens and 20s as far as temperatures right now. You factor in the wind. Feels like it's in the single digits in northern locations throughout the day today. Temperatures once again only topping off in the mid-20s with those mostly cloudy skies, and again an occasional stray flurry or two will be possible. Now going forward in this forecast tomorrow, it's the opposite of today. We start off dry here throughout the day tomorrow with temperatures in the teens, but the second half of the day we're going to start to bring back in some snow showers across the area, and as temperatures warm in the upper layers of the atmosphere in southern locations, we can mix it in with a little bit in the way of freezing rain. Now, the models have not been very good with these waves of moisture that have been coming through. And so it's only showing some light snow showers here. But I do think there's the potential tomorrow for areas, especially in northern locations that don't see any of that mixing and that the southern locations will, of an additional maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow. But again, it's going to be a fine line who sees 1 to 2 inches, and then it's just about a ½ an inch or less as you work your way from Indianapolis down to the south. So just as these waves move through, it's just a big difference of where you live because the waves aren't going through in the same spots. So when you hear 1 to 2 inches, that's not always going to happen in your neighborhood. What is going to happen in your neighborhood, unfortunately, is the bitter cold air is going to be returning. Look at those low temperatures, Lauren, as we head into Valentine's Day and Monday, down below 0.
Whew, all right, Todd, thank you. Let's take a look right now at your commute. This is I-70 near Harding Street. We're looking west of the downtown area. You can see here the road's been plowed pretty well, just a little wet out that way on the travel lanes. No major crashes or delays to slow you down. It is 5:22. We'll be right back.
And back, people across the country have been using this year's snow for creations more extravagant than your typical snowman, Raphael.
You have to really see this on this Tuesday morning. A New Jersey man, he recreated a national monument right there. Check it out in his front yard. Take a look at this. Robert Schott built this 14-foot sculpture of the Lincoln Memorial. As you can see, he says it took him 60 hours to make this snow masterpiece. Neighbors were amazed, and many, of course, stopped by to take pictures. Wow.
Beautiful.
I'm always asked, why do I do this? One is I'd like to create, but I think more importantly is the joy it brings the people that come to see it.
The Schott has also made other impressive sculptures over the years, including Olaf from the movie Frozen, and of course Snoopy, one of many favorites for many young people. Of course, our New Jersey native, Todd Clausen, can't wait to get home later this afternoon and build a major monument to the GMI team. I can't wait to see what Todd creates. And Todd, don't forget, I have a big head, so, you know, keep it in proportion.
I don't know if we have enough snow here in central Indiana, Raphael, to make a sculpture here. Now, my mom had 28 inches with the first storm, and then Sunday got another 7 inches. So, you know, maybe that's why you can create a Lincoln Memorial there. But we'll see what we can do for you here later on today, Raphael. I'm there outside right now. As far as the snow goes, today it's starting to wrap up. There's some snow showers in northern locations. Very little, though, in the way of any additional accumulation across the area. So the roads are slick in spots, especially down to the south, but they shouldn't get any worse as far as any additional precipitation or snowfall throughout the day today. Lots of clouds, though. It's a chilly day. We're only in the teens here this morning in many locations. We're only going into the mid-20s later on this afternoon for your afternoon highs.
Todd, thank you. Mailboxes getting damaged in one Indiana county. Just ahead here on Good Morning Indiana, WRTV investigates, finds out what's going on and what you should do if this happens to you. We'll be right back here after the break. Stay with us.
From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
Now at 5:30, we are seeing the impact of snowfall right here across central Indiana. This morning, snow plows from both INDOT and Indy Snow Force are out and about to make sure that you get to work and school safely. That's our mission on this Tuesday morning. So let's get right to WRTV meteorologist Todd Clausen for the latest. Todd?
And the good news, Raphael, is the snow starting to wind down here across central Indiana. For those of you south of Interstate 70, you've seen about 1 to 3 inches. Some areas even a little bit more than that. For those of you in northern locations, you're seeing a few snow showers right now, but you haven't really gotten into a whole lot in the way of accumulating snow throughout the overnight hours. So as you cross the miles off here across central Indiana, just know that things are going to be changing. A few flurries in and around the metro area here from Lebanon to Frankfort to Tipton. Nothing major as we slide down to the south, just a few flurries as well as all the accumulating snow is now pushing off into Ohio. That's the good news as you get going on this Tuesday morning. The damage is done. What's on the ground is what you're going to contend with. You're not going to see the roads get any worse. Teens and 20s here this morning for temperatures. The view from IMS back towards downtown Indianapolis shows the snow here in downtown Indianapolis really starting to wind down. Where do we go from here? Well, it's just really kind of a cloudy day for us from this point forward, and a cold day once again. 18 degrees at 8 a.m. as we work our way into the afternoon hours, Lauren. High temperatures only in the mid-20s.
All right, Todd, thanks. Let's take a look right now at your commute as you're heading out the door on this Tuesday. Looking up here on the north side, this is I-465 near Westfield Boulevard. You can see the interstate there is pretty clear from snow. And if you look at the service road there off to the side, you can see that is more snow covered at this hour. So just use caution, especially on any side streets this morning. Let's take one more live look from our INDOT traffic camera. This one's over on the west side of town where we had an early morning ramp crash. That has since cleared at I-465 and I-70. Of course, we'll continue to track any crashes or delays and keep you updated this morning. Just give yourself that extra time to take it easy. We also know a number of schools are either calling off school or they're delaying the start of class this Tuesday morning. Some are doing e-learning days. These include places like Monroe County, Shelbyville, Center Grove, Bartholomew Consolidated. They all have some sort of delay or cancellation. So you can find that complete list scrolling right now. It's at the bottom of your screen here. It's also on the WRTV News app. Check that before you send the kids out there, Raphael.
Good advice there, Lauren. Thank you. Now to developing news from overnight. Metro Police investigating a man's death, this on the city's southwest side. Officers were called to the home on Westbrook Avenue just before 1 this morning. When they arrived, they found a man in the rear of the home with what they believe are gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead. This morning, investigators have not released any information surrounding a suspect.
Overnight, police are investigating a shooting at an apartment on the city's northwest side. The shooting happened around midnight on Wildflower Circle in the woods of Eagle Creek Apartments. That's near 56th and Georgetown Road. Police say 2 men were at a get-together when an argument started and 1 man then shot the other. The victim was taken to the hospital in serious condition.
Well, despite there being no efforts to change names of cities here in Indiana yet, a bill that would make that process more difficult is making its way through the State House. This comes as more sports teams move away from using Native American names and mascots. WRTV's own Kelsey Anderson is joining us live this morning with the author of that bill and the local group that says there's no need for it. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Lauren. So as you mentioned, currently there is no effort to change the name of Indianapolis, but Senator Jack Sandlin, he wants to make sure that if that time comes, that it is not an easy process and that there is, in fact, a process set in stone. So Senate Bill 130 would make it harder to change the name of Indianapolis. It was initially brought up because of the conversation, around sports team ditching their offensive names and mascots. Senator Jack Sandlin tells WRTV he looked into this because his constituents were asking him about it. We spoke to Carolina Costorneros Santana. She's the executive director of the American Indian Center of Indiana, and she says she hasn't heard any conversations like this.
Someone who is on the front lines working with the Native community of Indiana, this has not been brought up by anyone in our community that these names need to change.
So under Senate Bill 130, a group would need enough signatures on a petition for a name change, and then residents would be able to vote on a referendum. The bill passed in the Senate 36-11 and is now heading to the House for consideration. So as for sports teams here in Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Indians, they did launch over the summer a committee to look into possibly changing their name. They have been the Indianapolis Indians since 1902. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
The time now is 5:35, and homeowners in Hendricks County are trying to get money to replace their mailboxes after they say they were taken out by snowplows. WRTV Investigates Kara Kenny checked with the Hendricks County engineer, who told us they've received 32 mailbox replacement claims since it snowed on January the 31st. Now, typically, the county averages 13 mailbox claims per year. Homeowners with a damaged mailbox can file a claim and get $40 to put toward a replacement.
$40 is an absolute insult, to be honest. It's a joke that that's all they're willing to pay. And even if I can show them the cost of my mailbox, it's disappointing that they won't even take that into consideration.
Seems like a really low number to me. And so my mailbox alone was $65, not talking about the post or the numbers or the install or any of that. It just seemed extremely low.
Hendricks County engineer John Ayers says they're working to increase the $40 reimbursement amount. The county points out that they typically plow 775 miles and pass an estimated 40,000 mailboxes.
Time now is 5:37. Covering the State House this morning, the Indiana Senate has voted to override Governor Eric Holcomb's veto of a controversial landlord-tenant relations bill. The bill prevents any Indiana city or town from regulating landlord and tenant interactions. That ranges from screening processes used to approve tenants to security deposits and lease applications. If it becomes law, it would void an Indianapolis ordinance requiring landlords to give tenants a notice of their rights and responsibilities. A senator we talked to says this follows a familiar pattern at the State House.
This is another attack on Marion County and the city of Indianapolis. You know, I commend our city county councilors who recognize that Indianapolis is second behind New York City in terms of evictions. And that they tried to put some, restrictions and some ordinances in place to protect some of these, tenants.
These pictures you can see on your screen show some terrible conditions renters are dealing with here in Indiana. It's why Senator J.D. Ford says cities and towns should be able to try to put protections in place for renters. And Governor Holcomb released a statement saying, quote, "I remain confident in my past decision to veto Senate Enrolled Act 148 last year. To be sure, we are still navigating through this once-in-a-century pandemic, and therefore I still believe this is not the right time for the overly broad language that to have become a law," end quote. Lauren.
It is 5:38. Let's take a turn now to the coronavirus pandemic and the continued impact on our state. This morning, state health officials report less than 1,100 new cases of COVID-19. So far this month, there have been more than 12,500 new cases of the virus in Indiana. Health officials also report 58 more Hoosiers have died with the virus. 163 Hoosiers have died with the coronavirus so far this month. Now, we can also tell you so far nearly 700,000 Hoosiers have received their first dose of a COVID vaccine, and nearly 225,000 Hoosiers are now fully vaccinated against the virus. Raphael.
The northern Indiana grandfather who accidentally dropped his 18-month-old granddaughter from a cruise ship window, causing her death, he will not go to jail. Salvatore Anello pleaded guilty to negligent homicide for the death of Chloe Wiegand. This incident happened back in July of 2019 while the ship was anchored in Puerto Rico. On Monday, Anello was sentenced to 3 years probation. The plea agreement included no jail time and no admission of facts. In a statement, Anello said he felt relief that he and his family can now move on together. The family also filed a lawsuit against Royal Caribbean. A trial date for that case is now set for April the 26th. The time now is 5:40, and Todd, here in Johnson County, it is lightly snowing, and I have a lot of shoveling to do this morning when I'm off Good Morning Indiana. But I'm looking forward to the aerobic workout, so here we go. Let's get this thing done.
Yeah, you know, and you saw a little more in the way of snow in Johnson County compared to Indianapolis and points to the north, Raphael. Then you went south of Johnson County, Bloomington, down into the Columbus area, and there's still even a little more than the Franklin area. So the further south you were throughout the overnight hours, the higher the snowfall totals have been. Now things are really starting to wrap up here down to the south. Some light snow here still to the north, where you're just kind of getting into some of these snowfall totals. Peru over into Kokomo, back into the Logansport area, these darker shades of blue. That's where you could see a little bit of additional accumulation. Tipton down into Noblesville and into the metro area. It's really just a few flurries, and then things starting to wrap up here across the eastern portion of the state as well. So just give yourself some extra time as you take to the roadways here this morning. Give the snowplows some extra room. I'm not expecting any additional issues on the roadways today from accumulating snow. It's what's on the roads that's the issue for you here this morning. So watch out for those slick spots with temperatures that are only in the teens in most locations, and coming home mostly cloudy skies. A flurry or two is possible with temperatures in the mid-20s.
Todd, thank you. February is Black History Month. Coming up, our Troy Washington is looking at the evolution of natural hair practices.
And let's take a live look right now at your commute. This is I-65 north of State Road 267 up in the Lebanon area. You can see traffic there is picking up this morning. Still traveling about up to speed. Use caution out there on the roads this morning. Plus, we have several school delays and cancellations rolling in right now. Check the WRTV app. We'll continue to keep you updated. We'll have more just after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. It is 5:44. Here's a live look at drivers in Carmel. What you'll see on your commute, US 31 here in Rangeline Road. You can see we still have some slick spots, it looks like, on the highway there, but most of the road has been plowed off. We'll continue to keep a close eye on your roads throughout the morning, let you know if there are any major trouble spots you should avoid. Raphael.
Be careful out there this morning. As we celebrate Black History Month, our Troy Washington, she's sharing with us the journey of embracing natural hair in the African American community.
She explains the road to celebrating curls and protective styles instead of hiding them.
Little girls are no longer growing up afraid to wear their natural hair. That's because times are changing and leaving room for authenticity.
Because we grow up with this difficult relationship with our hair, when it shouldn't have to be. We grow up with it because we have these experiences where you put a relaxer on and it burns so bad, and they're like, just wait it out a little bit longer so it can get straighter. Or, you know, your hair falls out. Like, this is really not good for me. but it's ingrained. It's like a culture. It's a schedule that we're on, you know, every 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it is, it's what we do.
Determined to restore her natural curl, Victoria Smith went natural. She blogged about the journey to stay focused and even started her own hair care line to help others venturing down the same road.
It's like black hair grows. We just started with a really bad foundation that was cracked.
For some, starting over isn't easy. Going from straight hair made possible with the help of a relaxer back to kinks, curls, and coils can be trying, but the evolution in the process can be rewarding.
Movements like the Crown Act, to me, it's like finally we have something to go off of. And the big part about it is there's a lot of major brands that are playing into that and helping to elevate that message. The
Crown Act protects from discrimination because of hairstyles, which, believe it or not, sometimes that type of protection is needed.
Black women are 1.5 times likely to be sent home because of their hair, which obviously that has nothing to do with talent and why you were actually hired for the job. So if these workplaces are having issues with braids and twists and things that Black culture, that's how we grew up. I mean, I can't help, this is how my hair grows out of my head.
To Smith's point about the experience being unique, it took me 9 years in the news industry before I worked up the courage to wear braids as a protective style, just because when I started, that wasn't the norm.
It truly is magic, you know? And so we should embrace that. We should have people that are advocating for us to be ourselves.
Today is becoming more common to see curls, braids, and other natural styles in new spaces, and it's now viewed as professional.
With all the changes, I'm certain that my daughter will grow up to embrace her hair in all its glory as it grows. Working for you, Troy Washington, WRTV.
I love that, Troy. Thank you so much. Sweet little Riley there, looking so cute. Let's take our turn right now to some national news. This morning, the U.S. is sending a message to Russia over its militarization of the Arctic region. Multiple defense officials say Air Force bombers and about 200 personnel are being deployed to a U.S. air base in Norway. The Defense Department has been concerned about Russia's actions in the region. Arctic missions had previously been staged out of the U.K. Officials say the move to Norway sends a message of shorter response time to Russia.
In national politics, the Georgia Secretary of State's office has launched an investigation into former President Trump's attempts to overturn that state's election results. The investigation includes questions about Mr. Trump's now infamous phone call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger on January the 2nd. A recording of that stunning one-hour call was made public, as you may recall. Mr. Trump is heard urging Raffensperger to, quote, find enough votes to overturn the state's election results. Raffensperger, who is a Republican, adamantly defended the results and the integrity of Georgia's voting system.
Pope Francis has appointed 2 women to fill roles previously held only by men. One of the women will help plan and prepare major meetings of world bishops. The other was named the next promoter of justice in the Vatican's Court of Appeals. The announcement follows an effort by Pope Francis to put women into high positions within the Catholic Church. Last year, Pope Francis named 6 women to the council overseeing the Vatican's finances. Lauren?
Well, Megan, let's take a look right now. This is some video shot this morning from our photographer Shay Goodpaster. Dash cam video of him driving in the conditions out in Rush and Henry counties. You can see the snow there. It looks like he's plowing his own way to work this morning, Todd. So a lot of side streets that are not interstates, areas to the south, they may run into some conditions like this. People really need to take it slow and plan ahead this morning.
Yeah, you know, and it just really depends where you are. So that's the view, as you mentioned, in Rush and kind of Shelby County. You go down to Bloomington and Bedford and in Columbus, there's more snow on the ground. In the metro area, it's basically just a coating. And then northern locations, you didn't really get into a whole lot in the way of the snowfall throughout the overnight hours, although you are dealing with a band right now making its way through the Peru area back into Logansport as well as Kokomo. So this is certainly enough to slicken up the roadways a little bit with a quick coating of snow, but it shouldn't be anything more than that. But the rest of central Indiana, you'll see a few flurries here and there throughout the morning drive, but all the accumulating snow is now quickly pushing off into Ohio and then eventually into Pennsylvania. So I would expect the National Weather Service to drop this winter weather advisory here once we get beyond the morning commute. They'll obviously leave it up to advise you that there are slick conditions across the area right now. But as I mentioned earlier, all the damage is done as far as the precipitation. What's on the road is what you'll deal with. No additional snowfall is expected on the roadways here across the area today. You can see the city skyline as you look from IMS back off towards the east. Good indication that we're not dealing with any intense snow across the metro area. Temperatures are in the teens and 20s this morning. A little colder to the north, 25 in Bloomington compared to 16 degrees right now in Tipton, as well as the Peru area. Wind chill values are in the single digits. Bundle up. We've been saying that now for it's been almost a week that we've been dealing with these bitter cold temperatures, and it's unfortunately going to get even colder across the area before it gets warmer. Wind chill values this afternoon are going to be in the teens. Let's fast forward to tomorrow, because another weak weather maker heads in our direction. Temperatures tomorrow once again in the low to mid 20s. The first half of the day tomorrow is dry before those snow showers come in. And we've had no major winter storms here across the area, but we've had these little waves of moisture coming through, and that's what we deal with tomorrow as well. And so it's snow showers across the area. It's probably not a consistent snow as we get into the afternoon and evening hours, but there will be the potential, I do think, for another 1 to maybe 2 inches across the area. And I know, some areas probably won't quite get to that 1 inch total, especially to the south. It looks like tomorrow the higher totals will be in northern locations. But yet, once again, we're dealing with snow showers across the area throughout your day on Wednesday. Now, I'm jumping ahead here. This is Saturday into Sunday morning, but look at the cold air that comes back in. These are wind chill values, but by the time we get to Monday morning, we could once again be talking about wind chills in that minus 25 to 35 degree range as we start off the new work week next week. But until we get there, just some snow showers here on Wednesday, again on Thursday, before that really cold air arrives with highs only in the teens and lows, Lauren, that'll be below zero.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at your commute this morning. This is I-465, a little north of Interstate 70. This is over on the east side, and you can see traffic here is traveling about up to speed, so that is good news this morning. Keep in mind, before you send the kids out to the bus stop, we have more than 40 school delays and closures coming into WRTV this morning. That's pretty much doubled within the last hour, so be sure to continue to check in. A new closure I just noticed was Greensburg schools. We also have Mooresville schools now on delay, and as I said, those keep rolling in. So check the WRTV app, and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. We're taking a live look right now at your commute along I-69 in Madison County. This is just a little south of the Anderson area near County Road 200 East. You can see traffic there is moving along smoothly. We'll continue to keep you updated as we have several school delays and even cancellations rolling in right now. Check the WRTV app or the bottom of your screen for that full list. And Todd, a lot of that has to do with some road conditions out there this morning.
Yeah, and it's going to depend where you are. You notice the roads didn't look all that bad there on the interstate to make your way up into portions of the Muncie area, and even same probably for 65 as you work your way towards Lafayette, as the heavier snowfall totals throughout yesterday evening and then overnight have been in southern locations. With that said, everybody has temperatures below freezing, so there could be some icy spots, even though there's not a lot of snow on the roads to the north. So just give yourself some extra time. As far as where we stand, as far as snow falling still from the clouds, here in northern locations, there's some light snow showers, but that's just about it. We're really wrapping this snow up, which is good news going forward throughout the day. We'll talk about the rest of today and look ahead to your extended forecast as well as your latest news headlines coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.